I've given a forecast to my readers of my newsletter, Strategic Intelligence.
This video is not about getting rich. It's about understanding what kind of world your money will live in by 2026. What if the biggest threat to your money in 2026 is not inflation, not recession, but war? While headlines keep you distracted, something far bigger is quietly moving in the background. Today, Lynette Zang exposes the real situation inside the United States, and Jim Rickards reveals where gold and silver could be heading next. Watch carefully, because these two warnings connect in a way most people will miss. This is not a...
Both silver and gold, this kind of silver and gold, physical, real. It's not a contract, right? It's real stuff. Its value in terms of this garbage is significantly higher than it is on the spot market. But the thing I love about technicals, and we were in a meeting yesterday because we meet every Monday with the production team. And so they've been learning too about the technicals. And one of the things that when something is in a positive trend, what do you see? You see a series of higher and higher lows. That's what you pay attention to, because here's a guarantee. Can't give you a lot, but I can give you this one. If you keep getting higher and higher lows, you will get higher highs. Ta-da! It's not rocket science. It's just logic. The reverse is true as well. If you consistently get lower and lower highs, I guarantee you at some point you will get lower lows. Markets can stay overvalued a lot longer than you would think possible, but they cannot do it forever. So this is where we are in both the spot markets, and I think people want to know this. So as long as these markets are behaving as they are, or if you want them or whatever, then you let me know, and I'll keep letting you know this is where we're at with this so that you can understand what you're seeing. But now I want to jump into what I really wanted to talk to you about, which is the potential South American war. So we've got wars between Russia and Ukraine in Europe, right, in that area of the continent. And again, in the Middle East, we've got things heating up with China. Oh, we probably need to start a war with South America.
Well, China actually does like silver. They've been buying enormous amounts of gold. We've talked about that. But historically, China has always treated silver as a precious metal. In fact, until fairly recently, they settled their balance of trade in silver. That's and they like that. So they're part of it. But there's a lot else going on. We don't know all the facts.
Yeah.
But there have been some supply disruptions in the London market. And the lady named Blythe Masters, she was the head of commodities trading for JP Morgan for a very long time. She's moved on to other things now, but she was referring to gold, but it applies to silver. She said, gold never settles. And what she meant by that was, if you look all the paper transactions, forwards, futures, options, unallocated, agreements, settled with banks, the amount of paper gold, but this would be true of silver also, relative to the physical supply, is probably 100 to 1. So as long as everyone's rolling the contracts over, not demanding delivery, etc., the market works fine. But the minute some segment of the market says, you know what, give me the silver, give me I want physical delivery.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the commodities exchanges and the warehouses, the custodians are saying, well, wait, we don't have that much silver. They have to go get it. I'm not saying there's been a default, but what I'm saying is, all of a sudden, there's a scramble on the physical side to keep up with the paper side. You can never keep up with the paper side. It's way too big. So then you get into the dynamics of a short squeeze. So that's driving it. But I've said all along, if gold's going where I expect, and I've given a forecast to my readers of my newsletter, Strategic Intelligence, of $5,000 by the end of 26. I called my editor the other day and I said, we have to publish quickly because I'm going to hit that before we publish the forecast.
War is one thing that justifies inflation and is something that happens 100% of the time as they're making a currency regime shift. because it's distracting. There's a lot of chaos and a lot of noise that's happening around you. So all of this is designed really to distract you so that they can get away with this shift and you don't notice it. But you're here. So I'm pointing it out to you and hopefully you will notice it. However, this was back in October. U.S. lawmakers want war powers vote after Trump pledges Venezuela attack soon. You know, all of this is happening, like, frankly, right now. So Senate speeds toward war powers clash as President Trump ratchets up threats of strikes in Venezuela. And not just the boat strikes that are off the shore, but also land strikes. This is the threat. The move follows comments from President Trump to Politico indicating that he's looking to deploy ground troops in the next phase of military operations against drug smugglers. But putting boots on the ground in a foreign country is kind of a declaration of war, isn't it? Will the U.S. go to war with Venezuela? Trump ramps up attacks with seizure of oil tankers. And actually, if you haven't watched this video, I thought this video was really, really interesting. You've got all the links to watch it. But the point is, honestly, that war is erupting all over the world and actually has been going on in cyberspace, according to those that understand cyberspace better than I do. We've already been fighting World War III. We don't need to do boots on the ground.
The reason why we need to do boots on the ground is for exposure. But the actual war is occurring in cyberspace, and it's economic war, and we announced that when we chose to freeze the assets and enforce a Russia out of SWIFT, and the entire world witnessed that. So, be ready, but you must understand. U.S. strengthens sanctions on Venezuela and intends to confiscate more oil tankers. It's an act of aggression. So we've got conflict erupting all over the world. Are we already in World War III? And what does this signify for our future? Is it really just being used as a diversion? Because, quite frankly, I believe that that's true, but we're also watching Colombia. Trump cautions Colombia, its president could be next in U.S. anti-drug initiative. Are we applying the military force too? Really, sort of, I don't know. I don't. No, we're going to discover. But who's going to fight? Are we deploying our public? Are we sending our young men and women to another endless legal war? Because there were years ago, and I conducted this study because I was interested. Since in the U.S. gold has been seized. And by the way, 5 times. Wait till you see what I've been developing. 5 times the U.S. has confiscated gold. And we're not even addressing the manipulation that's taken place in the spot price to keep you away from gold and silver. That was more hidden, but 5 times. So saying, oh, that won't happen. Again, that's opium. And I'm sorry, but opium is not a very solid plan. You want to have hope. I want you to have hope. You should have hope. I have plenty of hope, but I have hope that is grounded upon history and evidence. And that's where I would rather you be. You do whatever you're comfortable with, regardless of what I say. We will. Honestly, it would not shock me, not even slightly, to see $10,000 gold before the end of 2026. I think we will. I prefer to be cautious in my written projection because, it's good to be correct. But $5,000 is attainable, but $10,000 would simply come as no surprise for gold. But there's kind of like a fifth great math problem here. It's not complex, but so people think of the dollar price, $100 an ounce for $1,000 an ounce. And let's say you have 50 ounces and it rises $1,000 an ounce. Well, you just earned $50,000. And if it increases another $1,000 an ounce, you just earned another $50,000. So that's true, but people get fixated on the $1,000 benchmark and earning $50,000. But what they forget is that each $1,000 benchmark is simpler than the one before because you're working from a higher base and it's a smaller percentage. And just to give a tangible example, when you go from $3,000 to $4,000 an ounce, that's a 33% increase. But when you go from $9,000 to $10,000 now, so that's only 11%. That's like a good week the way gold's been moving. So my point is you're like, hey, it took a really long time to get from 3,000 to 4,000, which is accurate. But so, therefore, it's going to take forever to get to 10,000. That's not correct because it'll go at a little progress to 5 or 6, but it's going to go 7, 8. 910 extremely fast. Silver's along for the ride. You at that point, you're looking at $200 an ounce. I mean that's not even a reach. That the people talked about the gold to silver ratio. You can compute it. It's just a figure. There is no fixed ratio. This goes back to some 19th century lobbying effort by silver miners. People talk about 16 to 1. That was a political lobbying effort. There's nothing natural about it. Having said that, there's no way gold's going to where we're talking about $5,000 to $10,000 an ounce. So silver is not going to move. Also, which it will. So $200 silver would be in the same vein as gold moving to $10,000 an ounce. Well, I think you put your finger on both matters. Number one, it is a populist movement. Georgia Maloney is a kind of right-wing. Populist, clearly more populist. Nationalist, but she's a very capable politician, and she's kind of remaining within limits, not going, full mega, so to speak. But this is one that she's appealing to. The populist F. But you make a very important observation. I mean, for example, who owns the U.S. gold? We have 8,133 tons. Who actually owns it? Well, the answer is the U.S. Treasury. Although, half of this is in Fort Knox and half of it's in West Point. So I always say the U.S. Army owns it because there are 2 Army forts. But the U.S. Treasury technically owns it, which is part of the executive branch. So it's kind of the people's gold. But when the central bank owns it, then you have to ask, well, who controls the central bank? Who's truly in command of that? And they answer to the ECB. And all she's saying is, hey, it's Italy's gold. By the way, very interesting remark. This goes back around 10 years, but it's out there. You can locate it. Mario Draghi was the head of the ECB, but before that he was head of the Bank of Italy, which is the central bank of Italy, and he was delivering a speech at Harvard, and they were discussing gold, and someone asked him a question, Well, what about, you were head of the Bank of Italy, what about Italy's gold? And he said, I never sold 1 ounce of gold because I regarded it as a hedge against the dollar. Now here's the head of the head of the ECB, the head of the Bank of Italy, a complete globalist, no. One questions Mario Draghi's credentials, but he said, I regarded it as a dollar hedge, and it is. So even the globalists recognize it. If this video helped you grasp the bigger picture, don't stop here. Watch the next videos on your screen. They go even deeper into what's coming for gold, silver, and the global system. Support the channel by liking this video. It really helps more people discover this information. Subscribe for real analysis, not headlines, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. Stay informed, stay prepared.